Let's go to Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Rodney, has your phone melted down on a Friday afternoon yet?
Well, Ryan, most of the day yesterday, I would say probably from 8 o'clock yesterday morning to 11-something last night, and then it has slowed down finally this afternoon a little bit.
Well, and it's just a lot of craziness. Let me go back to Monday night. What was your biggest takeaway from Alabama losing the game?
Oh, boy. Man. I've tried to move past you.
I'm sorry, Rodney. My bad. But we depend on your expertise, and that's what we're trying to make sure that we kind of get your thoughts, and then we'll move into the coaching direction here in a second.
These games don't impact me like they used to, Ryan. Not as badly, but this one stung a little bit more, I think. Because you don't expect that to happen in that manner. The way it did, it got out of hand, and this team has been kind of as you watched them down the stretch, even Nick Saban said later in the season that they had not played with the energy that he had thought they maybe played with earlier in the season, and he couldn't quite put a finger on it. They've been a team that I think defensively you never felt really comfortable with them, I think, against some of the better offenses they played. We saw them have that game against Arkansas, created a lot of concern, and then we saw look like in the Tennessee game and a couple of the games that after that, the Missouri game, they held Missouri to 10 points. It looked like, maybe this defense was starting to come around, starting to mature and develop and all of that. And then down the stretch, they gave up 35 to Georgia. They gave up 34 to Oklahoma, which is great offense, obviously. And then this meltdown against, Clemson. They just couldn't get off the field on third downs. Coach Saban said that. But, when you have a team repeatedly in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 13, and they're routinely converting those third downs, it's just, it really raises a lot of red flags to me when you see that happen. That Alabama defense the other night, Monday night, that was, that performance was, to me, when I look at it, just to be honest with you, I'm sitting there and I'm saying, Nick Saban needs some help coaching on the defensive side of the ball. He's a guru, but I think he needs some help on the defensive side of the ball.
Rodney, and then we move to this week where it has been a mass exodus when we talk about assistant coaches, some probably by choice, probably some not so much by choice. Just your biggest takeaways, maybe some surprises, some not so much surprises, and maybe there's more to come or maybe there's not more to come.
On the coaching staff?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, Josh Gaddis was one. First of all, Mike Loxley leaving, but that really obviously was not a surprise. We knew about that with going to Maryland, but I thought there was a chance he might take Josh Gaddis, the wide receivers coach. Only been here a year. I thought he might take him with him. So the fact that he went to left was not a surprise, but that he ended up at Michigan yesterday,
sure,
I think caught everybody by surprise. But it's a great opportunity for him. It's an opportunity, I think, for him to go to Michigan and call the plays up there. So that's really something that, when you look at him, he's trying to progress his career. That's the next step for him. Dan Enos today, I was kind of thinking for a while there that, Enos was in position to become the next offensive coordinator here. I think a lot of people thought that. But Miami obviously pursued him pretty hard, wanted him badly, and Georgia, I think, also pursued him as well. But, again, there you go. There's another spot that they've got to fill, on the offensive side. And then Brent Key was, I think yesterday, it was announced that he's going to Georgia Tech. So that really wasn't a surprise. We'd been expecting that to happen for a few weeks. So I don't think any of them necessarily were surprises, except maybe Enos to me a little bit.
Yeah. So was I. I think we've been kind of talking about that. But does that give you any clue as maybe the direction that Nick Saban wants to continue to take this offense?
Well, I think his history is probably a little bit different than what you saw with Loxley in terms of, maybe what they did with all those RPOs, the spread, and all of that stuff they did this year. And, with the players that they have, and, maybe it's a little bit Now, he was great. I thought he did a fantastic job as quarterback's coach. But, there's some people. I thought he did a really good job when he was at Arkansas, Ryan. But I was talking to a few people who, when he was the offensive coordinator there, they did question some of his, things that he did with the players that he had in terms of the amount, kind of his run-pass ratio and those types of things, the play calling. But I thought he did a really good job with those Allen brothers at quarterback. So, again, who knows exactly with Dan Enos, but, after I started talking to some people, and they tell me that, he and Nick Saban had kind of talked about this position, and I think Enos expected a certain amount of money, and then Nick Saban comes in, and actually when they sit down and start discussing this as a future, and Saban kind of gave him a quote, if you will, that was considerably less, in his opinion, than what he expected. So that kind of made me think a little bit, Ryan. I mean, Nick Saban kind of knew the ballpark that Dan Enos was looking for, and he offered him quite a bit less. This is according to people close to Dan Enos. So if that's the case, then it kind of told me that Nick Saban had already made up his mind. He wanted to go in another direction. If you put the pieces together. Right?
No. I mean, I think that is. And I think we've been kind of talking about that all afternoon. If Nick Saban wanted Dan Enos to stay, he would have made sure that he would have. I mean, he would have put it out there on him, and Dan Enos would not have taken Miami. Miami is a step down from Alabama at the current direction of that program.
Yeah, listen, let me tell you, I don't have any doubt Nick Saban, if he wants a coach, and it's not going to be, I don't think money's going to keep that from happening.
Rodney, is there any names, because you're as glued in as anybody. You've been doing this. I mean, I feel like we've been coaching searches for several years. But is there anybody that Nick Saban says that we throw crap up on a wall and we'll see if it sticks? Are you willing to throw some crap up on a wall and give us a couple of names? I mean, anything that you're hearing that you could kind of just keep our – not that – I mean, let me make this disclaimer. Audience, we're not going to hold his feet to the fire. Just some guys that you're looking at and you're saying, well, that might be someone that – but, I mean, look, how many of us had Pete Golding on the list, or how many had some of these guys that he brought in? Not many. I mean, but it's any names out there that you can add to this possible list?
Ryan, I always hate to speculate things.
Sure.
Until I kind of have a better idea. But, there's names that are being tossed around out there that I really have no idea if it would be something that Nick Saban would consider. I'm going to guess this, though. I'm going to guess he's known for a little while, at least one or two guys that he thought he could get, that he felt comfortable with before this ever went down. Because he's rarely caught by surprise. So I think he probably has, and I start talking to some people, and, to be honest with you, a guy in the coaching industry, he's not connected to Alabama, but he mentioned a name to me today that he felt like, now this is a former college coach, felt like that he had mentioned a name to my source today, actually, Larry Fedora, the former head coach at North Carolina. He thought that might be somebody that Nick Saban may be interested in. And in fact, it was funny because a lot of people thought that Fedora might be the leading candidate or one of the leading candidates for that Miami job that Enos just got. So, he's got a great reputation. He, does the RPO stuff and all of the things that you could see, that the talent that Alabama has, they used this year, and with Mike Loxley. And, he's one of those guys. Somebody also was mentioned the name Todd Monken, who, was formerly, I think, at Southern Miss also, just like, Fedora had been at Southern Miss and been successful there and was the head coach of North Carolina recently. But so Monken's been with the Tampa Bay Bucks, I think, in the NFL. And I think he's now unemployed right now. But somebody mentioned his name. I mean, there's been some other names that have been bandied about out there. But, Ryan, I'm just being honest with you. I have no idea what at this, as we talk today, at this moment, what direction Nick Saban may be planning to go in that offensive coordinator's for that offensive coordinator's position.
Rodney, how does this impact that late signing period, or does it?
Well, as I think about it, right now, I don't think it does at all because, there's one player they had committed on the offensive side of the ball that did not sign early. That was Keelan Robinson, the running back out of Washington, D.C. Last week I thought Keelan would probably stick with Alabama and sign with Alabama. Whether or not he changes his mind, we'll see. He and Mike Loxley were pretty close. But other than that, most of those guys are on the defensive side of the ball. Chris Bogle just committed at that All-American game last weekend. I think Alabama, Joe Panunzio, and I think Tosh LaPoy may have been with him as well down there to see him today, that defensive end outside linebacker. So I don't think it affects any of that change right now will affect that him or the other defensive guys. Ishmael Sopsher, number one defensive lineman or defensive tackle in the country out of Louisiana. And then also I think another guy that is really interesting is an outstanding linebacker out of California, Henry T. I call him Henry Toto. And he's been recruited by Tosh LaPoy, who Tosh LaPoy graduated from the same high school, Concord de La Salle, California. And I think Henry T. is a great player, great inside backer prospect at a need position. So, again, unless there's some changes on the defensive side, I don't think here in the late period Alabama would be affected too greatly.
Rodney, talk about the website because a lot of people are going to be depending on you throughout the weekend. We're probably not going to get any sleep. It's going to be a very crazy week as we continue to follow all these coaching searches, recruiting, but you're going to have the latest. Talk about the website and how people can connect with everything that you guys are doing.
Yeah, Ryan, TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You get instant access with your credit card. That gives you access to all our premium information as well as the forums where we're doing most of our stuff right now on the forum where, just discussion, answering questions and all of that about the coaching stuff. And again, recruiting will really pick up here, in terms of the coverage over the next week or two. But, again, it's all covered right there at TiderInsider.com.
It is TiderInsider.com. Rodney Orr, the editor, the founder, your source for Crimson Tide news and views. And that forum right now is very active as everybody discusses all these different changes. Rodney, as always, thank you for your time. I hope you have a great afternoon.
Appreciate it, Ryan.